Welcome back to Good Sports for You, where we are talking about good sports for you. And today I will be ranking the first baseman for all 30 teams in the MLB. And for this ranking, I'm not just going to be looking at their most recent season, but their past 3 seasons, so we can try to get a more complete picture of what kind of player that they are. But the most recent season does have the most weight and value, and the postseason has a little bit of sprinkling in there too, really just like a tiebreaker and stuff like that. But before we hop into it, I want to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. And for this ranking, I will be using Baseball Reference WAR. That's wins above replacement for those of you who don't know. And I will be referencing OPS plus a lot. OPS is on base plus slugging percentage, and OPS plus is just a good indicator of how a hitter is in general. 100 is league average. Anything above that is whatever percentage they are above. So like 150 would be 50% better than league average. Anything below, it's the exact same thing, where 50 would be 50% below league average. But let's hop right into it with number 30. To start us off at number 30, we have Andres Chaparro. In his first 2 seasons, 26-year-old Chaparro has really struggled, having negative WAR each season. In his first season, he had a 94 OPS plus, and in 2025, his OPS plus dropped to 44 with a batting average below 200 with only 1 home run. Hopefully, he can bounce back and provide some value to a struggling Nationals team. At number 27 from the Colorado Rockies, we have Edward Julian. After a great rookie season in 2023 with the Minnesota Twins, putting up 2.6 WAR, batting .263 with a .381 OBP, a .459 slugging, and an .839 OPS for a .130 OPS plus. His next 2 seasons have not gone as planned, with his OPS plus dropping to 74 and 76 in 2024 and 2025. Julian and the Rockies are hoping he can turn it around in 2026. Number 28, we have someone new to the position for the Miami Marlins, that is Christopher Morel. Despite having never played an inning at first base, the Marlins want to have Morel running the cold corner in 2026. Morel has fallen off after a solid 2023, going from a 122 OPS plus to 80 back to 90. Morel has never been the best defender in the world, so maybe a move to first will help bring him back his bat a little bit, but I wouldn't expect much from the former Cub. Coming in at 27 for your Milwaukee Brewers, we have Andrew Vaughn. Vaughn was an interesting player to rank, as he was incredible in his half season with the Brewers, putting up a remarkable .308 batting average with an .869 OPS and a .141 OPS plus, and putting up 1.3 WAR in only 64 games. However, he was so bad with the White Sox in the first half of the season, he still only had a 99 OPS plus and a negative 0.4 WAR on the season. Vaughn's 23 and 24 were decent with a 102 and 98 OPS plus, but not exactly what you want from first base. If Vaughn can replicate half of what he did with the Brewers, he can easily climb the rankings, but I wouldn't hold your breath for the former 3rd overall pick. At 26, the Cincinnati Reds have Spencer Steer. Steer is coming off his worst full season with a 94 OPS plus, dropping from 96 in 2024 and 117 in 2023, and his WAR has consistently dropped from 2.9 to 1.5 to 0.7 this season. Steer will consistently give you 20 home runs, and his defense has continued to improve, but going into his age 28 season, we can expect something similar or potentially an even further drop. At 25, the Cleveland Guardians have Kyle Manzardo. Manzardo is going into his 3rd season in the league after decent results his first 2 seasons, putting up a 97 OPS plus in 2024 and jumping to a 110 OPS plus last season. Manzardo has rocked a .234 batting average each season. Manzardo's defense isn't the best in the world, and he has room to improve with his eye, so you could see some nice improvement from the Guardians' first baseman. At 24, for the Texas Rangers, we have Jake Burger. Burger isn't far off from having 34 home runs in 2023. Burger had a bit of an off season with a 99 OPS plus and hitting 16 home runs in 103 games. But his defense did improve, so his WAR improved despite the offensive drop. His expected stats and his injury struggles in 2025 suggest that Burger could have a good bounce-back season, but he's coming back from a surgery, which is always tough to predict what'll happen. At 23, we have former All-Star Josh Bell for the Minnesota Twins. Bell is joining his 5th team in only 4 seasons, but he still provides a good bat. Bell put up his best hitting season since 2022 with a 110 OPS+. Bell has always been consistent over his career as a plus bat, but his defense at first base has always been holding him back. And being 33, this is probably the version of Josh Bell that we will get in 2026. Solid bat, poor defender, and likely will do some DHing for the Twins. Coming in at 22, we have Pavin Smith for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Smith has seemed to come into his own hitting-wise after a 76 OPS plus in 2023. Smith put together back-to-back very good hitting seasons with a 144 OPS plus and a 120 OPS plus in 2024 and 25. His biggest issues are inconsistent MLB playing time. This past season, Smith played in 87 games, which surprisingly is the most since 2021. But because of late season injury issues, Smith's season ended early. It's hard to rank him any higher despite the good play. Next up at 21, we have Nolan Schanuel for the Los Angeles Angels. Schanuel has been a very consistent hitter since his debut in 2023, hitting a 104, 100, and 107 OPS plus over the past 3 seasons. The pop isn't where you want it to be for a first baseman, never having more than 13 home runs in a season. But he has a good eye and good strikeout numbers, and only being 24, Schanuel still has lots of room to grow in 2026. At 20 for the St. Louis Cardinals, we have Alec Burleson. Burleson had a really nice 2025 for the Cardinals, hitting for a 290 average with a 125 OPS plus and winning the Silver Slugger for the utility role. Despite having such great hitting, he only had a 1.8 WAR. And with only 18 home runs, he doesn't provide the pop in the bat that you want to see from your first baseman. 2026 is a big year for Burleson to see if he's a one-season wonder or if he can have sustained success. At 19, we had probably the hardest player to rank, and that is going to be Munetaka Murakami for the Chicago White Sox. Murakami is coming over from Japan after an illustrious career where he was one of the best power hitters in the league, hitting 56 home runs in 2022. But it's hard to tell how everything will translate to the MLB. He could easily be an all-star caliber player or a subpar player. Murakami also was more of a third baseman in Japan, so we'll see how well and how often he will play first base for the Chicago White Sox. Coming in at 18, we have one of the older first basemen in the league, and that is Christian Walker for the Houston Astros. Walker's WAR has been dropping from a peak of 5 in 2022 to 3.7 to 2.6 to a pretty poor 0.1 in his first season in Houston. Walker did struggle at home this season with an abysmal 622 OPS at home. The defense, though, will always provide a good floor for him, but the bat needs to come back to provide real value. At 17 for the San Diego Padres, we have Jake Cronenworth. Now, the first base situation for the Padres is a little bit shaky and a little bit murky, but MLB.com on their depth chart has Cronenworth listed as their number 1 first baseman, but we can probably expect some sort of platoon scenario, but we're going with Cronenworth for right now. Cronenworth had a nice bounce back season this year, hitting above 100 OPS plus for the first time since 2022 with a 108 OPS plus. His pop isn't great, especially for a first baseman with only 11 home runs in 2025. But the former All-Star still has the talent to bounce back, but you would like the numbers more if he was at a different position. At 16, we have Spencer Torkelson for the Detroit Tigers. Torkelson has been up and down to start his young career, but last season was a big return to form after a pretty poor 2024 where he put up an 88 OPS plus. 2025, though, produced his best season by almost every metric. The former first overall pick put up 2.3 WAR with a 117 OPS plus while slugging 31 home runs. At only 26, there should be plenty left in the tank for the slugging Tiger. To start the top half at number 15, we have Ben Rice for the New York Yankees slotting in. Rice could have a huge jump this season, but a small sample size limits his ranking. In 138 games last season, Rice put up 26 home runs with a solid slash line of 255, 337, 499 for an 836 OPS for a 131 OPS plus for 2.3 WAR. A huge increase from the negative 0.4 WAR with a 73 OPS plus in 2024. Going into only his 3rd year in the league, the Dartmouth product could still be in for a big jump in the future. Coming in at 14, we have Vinny Pasquantino for the Kansas City Royals. Pasquantino's rise has helped turn the Royals into contenders in the AL Central. Following a solid 2024 with a 114 OPS plus, Pasquantino broke out to hit 32 home runs and driving in 113, ranking 3rd in the American League this season. Posting a 120 OPS plus and hitting his prime at 28 years old, it's fair to expect another solid season from Pasquantino. At 13, we have the new Pittsburgh Pirate, Ryan O'Hearn. The Pirates made a splash this offseason, signing the 2025 All-Star Ryan O'Hearn. O'Hearn posted a 125 OPS plus in his All-Star season with 2.4 WAR, capping off a great 3-season stretch where he had averaged 277 with a 343 OBP, a 445 slugging for a 788 OPS with a 122 OPS plus. O'Hearn doesn't have the pop you hope for at first base, hitting only a career high of 17 home runs this past season. O'Hearn is going to probably split time at first base and DH for the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 12, we have another new face, and that is Jorge Polanco of the New York Mets. Polanco signed this offseason with the Mets after one of his best seasons with Seattle, putting up 2.6 WAR with 26 home runs and an OPS plus of 134, and he will always be etched into Mariners fans' minds for his clutch hitting in the postseason. Polanco has always been a solid bat with a career 122 OPS plus. The biggest issue has always been his defense, which has only gotten worse. The Mets are hoping that a move to first will help with that defense. Just outside the top 10, we have Jonathan Aranda from the Tampa Bay Rays slotting in at number 11. Aranda got his first season with over 45 games played and he made it worthwhile, batting .316 with a 393 OBP, a 489 slugging, and an 883 OPS, good for a 146 OPS plus for a 3.5 WAR season and his first All-Star selection. Unfortunately, a late season injury limited him, but Aranda is shaping up to be a very good first baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays. Starting the top 10, we have former St. Louis Cardinal and current Boston Red Sox, Wilson Contreras. Contreras will be turning 34 in May, but he is still one of the best and most consistent hitters in baseball, with an OPS plus of 123, 138, and 123 in 2023, 24, and 25 respectively. Contreras will be a big boost for the Boston Red Sox lineup as they look to continue their push for the AL East crown. At number 9, we have Josh Naylor of the Seattle Mariners. Naylor continued a fantastic stretch of his career with a great season split between the Diamondbacks and the Mariners. Naylor, in his 54 games with the Mariners, hit .299 with an 831 OPS and a 138 OPS plus. Naylor ended the season with 3.1 WAR and a 128 OPS plus. In addition, Naylor added a whole new level to his game, stealing 30 bases this season despite only having 25 stolen bases for the rest of his career. Moving into number 8, we have Michael Busch for the Chicago Cubs. Busch built off a solid 2024 season where he produced 2.8 WAR and a 118 OPS plus to have an excellent 2025 with 4.6 WAR and a 147 OPS plus on top of hitting 34 home runs. Busch was one of the staples of a potent Cubs offense all season long, which ended with him finishing 16th in the MVP voting. In his age 28 season, Busch seems primed to continue his excellence into 2026. At number 7, we have Rafael Devers for the San Francisco Giants. Devers has been one of the best hitters since his debut in 2017. This success continued in 2025, even with a midseason trade to the Giants, he still put up excellent numbers, ending the season with 4.1 WAR, 35 home runs, 109 RBIs, and a 140 OPS plus. Despite having a slightly worse 2025 than Busch, he's higher because his past 3 seasons have just been so much more consistent. Right outside the top 5 at number 6, we have the brand new Baltimore Oriole, Pete Alonso. After becoming the Mets' all-time home run leader, Alonso signed a 5-year deal with the Orioles. Alonso had another excellent season, hitting 34 home runs, driving in 126 runs, second best in the National League, with a 142 OPS plus, finishing with 3.4 WAR on his way to his 4th All-Star selection in a row, his first Silver Slugger, and finishing 11th in MVP voting. The only thing holding him out of the top 5 is his defense isn't great, with his fielding run value being in the 8th percentile. At number 5, we have 2-time MVP winner Bryce Harper for the Philadelphia Phillies. Harper had a solid season with 3.1 WAR and an 844 OPS and a 129 OPS plus. But for Harper's standards, it was a down season. His worst WAR season since 2022, his worst OPS since 2016, and his worst OPS plus since 2019. Harper still has constant excellence his past 3 seasons, with a 145 and a 146 OPS plus in 2023 and 2024. I don't think there's a reason for concern, but at age 33, it could be a bit past Harper's prime, but non-prime Harper is still a top 5 first baseman in the league. At number 4, we have Freddie Freeman for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Freeman, year in and year out, is one of the most consistent and best hitters in the league, and this season was no exception. Freeman, the past 3 seasons, has a 163, 144, and 144 OPS plus. Freeman had his 7th All-Star selection in a row this season, finishing 13th in MVP with 3.5 WAR. Freeman remains a top contact hitter, hitting .295. Until he gives us a reason to think otherwise, Freeman isn't slowing down at age 36. Coming into the top 3, we have the AL Rookie of the Year winner, and that is Nick Kurtz for the Athletics. Kurtz had an incredible first season campaign with 36 home runs, a staggering 1.005 OPS for a 173 OPS plus for 5.4 WAR. Going into his age 23 season, there's plenty of reason to think that Kurtz could have an even better season in 2026. But sophomore slumps do happen, and he did strike out a lot with 155 strikeouts last season. So I think 3 is a fair ranking, but he could easily be number 1 by season's end. The runner-up at number 2 is the postseason hero for the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vlad Jr. had another solid season with a 133 OPS plus and 4.6 WAR. Down from his 2024, where he put up a remarkable 6.2 WAR and a 164 OPS plus. Vlad had an excellent postseason with an OPS approaching 1.300. The reason he's 2 is because of inconsistent seasons. His 2023 was weak by his standards with a 116 OPS plus and 1.8 WAR. But his postseason play is easily enough to justify him as a top 2 first baseman. And for the number 1 first baseman, we have Matt Olson for the Atlanta Braves. Olson has the highest 3-season WAR average of all first basemen at 5.8. Olson had a down season in 2024, and he still put up 3.8 WAR with a 118 OPS plus. But this season, Olson put up 6 WAR, the highest of all first basemen by 0.6 WAR, and had a 138 OPS plus. In addition, Olson is one of the best defenders at first base, winning the Gold Glove, the 3rd of his career. Olson is the most complete all-around player at first base. But that is all I got for you. If you have your thoughts and opinions on what my rankings are, make sure to leave them in the comments section down below. If you think your player should have been ranked higher, let me know. If you think another player should have been ranked lower, let me know. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I appreciate you watching so much, and I'm out. Peace.